Hello, today we have David Nichols who's going to talk about his new diet, the Atkins diet, which is very similar to the ketogenic diet that is given to children to help control their uncontrolled epilepsy. And with the suggestion of David's neurologist, it has been given that he will try the modified Atkins diet to try and control his seizures. So tell us about it, David.
Okay, well, Maria, the particular diet, the modified Atkins, has been developed by Johns Hopkins Hospital over in the States. It's just recent, so it's been designed specifically for people with difficult to control seizures. It's not been around too long, for the last 10, 12 years, I think, something like that. And as you say, my neurologist suggested I go see this particular dietitian who specialises in the diet for people with seizures, and who has also had a very high success rate with it. And it also has to be like the ketogenic diet, because that's what it's been designed to be similar to. It's aimed at adults. It has to be followed in conjunction with the neurologist and the GP that you're under. So you have to be able, you end up undergoing blood tests and regular checks with your GP, and your neurologist has to know what's going on, all that kind of thing. So you can't just decide to go on the diet. You have to have been, it's best that you're referred. Your nutritionist will send regular letters to the neurologist, and my dietitian has been sent all those letters and has asked the GP to set up the blood tests. We also undergo certain other tests that are rather fun. To use a loose term, I have to check my ketosis levels, because what they're doing is, with the ketogenic diet, the modified Atkins diet is also putting you into a state of ketosis, which is basically the starvation state. So your body is using its fats to create sugars, which then cross the blood-brain barrier and change your brain chemistry, which is how it all works. They're still trying to figure out why it works, but that's how it works. So I have to check those levels, lovingly by peeing on a stick. A bit like a pregnancy test, but just different results.
So fairly accurate, though.
Yes. The test has been around for some time. There are two different ways of doing the test. I just have to do one by going to the toilet.
Right. So, and you mentioned to me earlier, before sitting down and recording this, that your ketosis level is really high, which is ideal.
Yeah, that's right. Really, the higher the better. I've been on the diet for a week and a half now, and all indications are that it's going actually quite well. So I'm very pleased with that. The whole idea of the diet is to have minimal carbohydrates, super high amounts of fat, which admittedly, when I first started the diet, we were even draining the fat from the pan into things like my salads, which was a bit revolting when I was going and drinking that, but I ended up deciding, well, I don't think I really need to quite do that, because they're pretty saturated anyway. So there's some stuff that you can go overboard with, and some stuff I don't think you need to go quite so overboard with, like drinking fat. I think you can probably pull back on, but
so you say that it's making a difference already. How do you know it's making a difference? Tell us.
Well, pretty much most people, if they have seizures quite regularly, would notice, especially if they're having a seizure every day or every few days. I have myoclonic jerks in my left hand or left arm, and I've noticed that my left arm is sort of starting to stabilise already. It will probably be another week before I can be absolutely sure, but according to the dietitian, it's usually within 1 to 2 weeks, sometimes 3, that you can pretty much tell whether the diet's working. Once you know whether the diet's working or not, if it looks like it is, then you end up staying on it for a couple of years. And you have to be pretty strict once you're on it.
You have to maintain your medication, and I think that's got to be emphasised too, is that whilst you're on this diet, you're also on your medication.
That is correct.
Yes.
Yes. So I'll be staying on my medication throughout. The idea with the diet is that it goes in conjunction with medication. You will see results, so if it works for you. And the whole idea behind the diet is that it pretty much resets the brain chemistry. So it can take a couple of years to pretty much fully happen, but after a couple of years they then sort of try and wean you off the diet to see whether it's worked. If it hasn't completely worked, then they bring you back onto the diet for a little while longer and then try weaning you off it again. But you can't go cold turkey off the diet because it's rewiring your body's chemistry as well as your brain's. So because you're in a starvation mode, it'll do bad things to your body. I mean, there are side effects being on the diet as well, like one of the reasons why you have to drink lots of water while you're on the diet is because there's a potential for constipation and the potential for gallstones, so you have to be careful that you drink enough water. And so you just have to keep on trucking with that sort of stuff.
So it's a fairly strict diet, David. Earlier you gave me an example of your daily menu, and it sounds like it's heaven. Lots of cream.
Yes.
But it's quite strict, isn't it?
Yep, I'm only allowed 15 grams of carbohydrates per meal at the moment. That might rise to 20 in about a month's time. But at the moment it's pretty strict on carbohydrates. I can't have sugars either. The idea is to get my fats converting into sugars, but I can't have fruit, I can't have potatoes, I can't have pastry, I can't have lasagna or noodles or anything like that, because it's all got carbohydrate in it or sugar in it. I'm going to miss my chocolate.
Oh.
I'm a chocoholic, so
yes.
but I'm pretty good at going cold turkey, so I've survived thus far. Even watching my daughter have a very nice blueberry tart in front of me and a hot chocolate.
Oh.
But I survive.
So what do you think your tastes will change?
Quite possibly. I'm also not having alcohol at the same time, so I'm completely, alcohol free.
Right. And meat? What about meat? How much meat are you entitled to with your diet?
As much as I want, really. No, best not to go overboard, but I can pretty much organise the meals how I like. Sort them out to fill me up. There's no real restriction apart from carbohydrates. So that's why they created the modified Atkins diet so that it works best for adults, because a lot of adults have real trouble on the strict ketogenic diet, because it's all food ratios, weights and measures and all that kind of thing, so it's a lot harder for adults to stick to it. Whereas the idea behind the modified Atkins diet is that it's basically no ratios, no portions or proportions. The only restrictions are that you are restricted in things like sugar intake and carbohydrate intake. Otherwise, everything else, go for your life.
So, problems for being a vegetarian, getting enough protein?
Well, so long as you can get your proteins, then yeah, you should be fine. I mean, mostly what I'm eating is what vegetarians would eat anyway, the only difference being that I'm including meat in that. So long as you can substitute what you require, what that meat would be, then that's fine. If you were a vegetarian, you'd be sweet. You just have to ensure that you read labels. That's the one thing that was being impressed upon me throughout the whole process, is that you have to get very good at reading the labels on packages, jars and all that kind of thing, because you need to go through the list of ingredients and make sure you read the total column instead of, say per item column. So in terms of per serve, you need to check out the total carbohydrates, total fats, because even things like tofu, which would be vegetarian staple, different tofus have different levels of carbohydrates, different levels of protein, different levels of sugars, all sorts of things. And some mayonnaises have added sugar, some don't. There's some of everything that's better than others. So it's a matter of comparing everything. And even peanut butter is one of the things that we use as a snack item. So I can have celery and peanut butter, for instance, and there are some peanut butters that have extra sugar in them, and all sorts of other additives that you don't really want. So there are some peanut butters that are just purely peanuts and salt with a tiny bit of oil, and so that's, you find those and they're the better ones. Sometimes they're the more expensive ones, so in some ways, unless I can find the right alternatives, this is to a certain degree going to end up being possibly a bit expensive to be on for a while, but it's just a matter of shopping around and finding the right things to get, but also it's whether it's going to be worth it as well. So
it's a very strict diet that you're on, and it's going to require a huge amount of determination on your part to see the 2 years now eating lots of mayonnaise and fat things, and I just hope that you don't sort of think, oh, I'm missing the chocolate.
Undoubtedly,
you're going to have to find ways. You're going to have to find ways to.
Undoubtedly, I will. There might be a cold shower or two.
It's going to be very difficult.
But I think I'll manage it.
Who's going to be overseeing this day to day or week? Do you go and see your nutritionist regularly, or?
Well, I'll be having regular monthly meetings with the nutritionist.
Yes.
And also be checking in with the GP. I'll be getting regular blood tests. And every time I check in with the neurologist, I'll be talking with them about it as well. So. Yeah.
Very, very, it's very commendable actually, because I know that you've struggled for a long time with your epilepsy, and you've tried all sorts of medication. You've, it's been really a heartache in many ways.
Yeah.
And so to do this is actually not only commendable, but for you, is it the last resort?
Probably, and that's something the nutritionists themselves mentioned, that a lot of people end up coming to them to try the diet as a last resort. And in her mind, she was saying it was kind of a pity. They wished that more people would come as a first resort, and I can see two sides to that argument. You know, on one hand, you've got to know first that your epilepsy is one of the difficult to manage cases before going off and trying this diet. But on the other hand, you know, it might actually be all you require as well. So you know, a lot of part of it, I guess, is that, you know, you go and see the neurologist and their first thought is, well, let's try pills first, because it is the easier option and probably the cheaper option as well. So I can see why that happens, and it's possibly even the more accepted medical option, you know, from the medical establishment. But I can also understand why, you know, someone would think like that. You know, why aren't they trying this simple dietary method to control seizures if it has such a high success rate? And this, you know, this woman is getting a 40 to 50% success rate from her, you know, from all her patients. So that's pretty damn good, if you ask me. So it's got a fair chance of success for me, I think.
If a person wanted to go directly to a nutritionist before a neurologist, is that possible? Or is this a recommendation through the neurologist?
Well, I got given the card by the neurologist, and
Right.
The nutritionist would probably refer the patient back to the neurologist anyway, because, you know, the equivalent has to be done in tandem with
Right.
the neurologist and the GP, because of the simple requirements of having blood tests and you know, regular check-ins. So, you know, it would have to be at least done, or would probably be referred back to make sure there's cooperation there.
I know that you're going to be writing a blog
Yeah.
about this adventure that you're on, and we would like to be able to follow you on your blog. So on our webpage, we'll write your details and come in regularly and see how you're doing, because it is a new adventure, even for people like me, to know more about the modified Atkins diet. I wish you all the best, David. I think it's a marvellous thing that you're doing, and I won't tempt you with anything other than a celery stick with some peanut butter.
Thanks.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.